Marcus Blackwell pressed his ear against the mahogany door of his dying son's bedroom, his heart pounding as he heard his maid Isabella whispering, "Please, God, don't let him blame himself when I'm gone tomorrow. He's already lost so much." The words hit him like lightning. She wasn't praying for his son. She was praying for him. Before we continue, if you enjoy powerful stories about human connection and unexpected kindness, make sure to click that subscribe button. This is the best way for you to support our work. Thank you very much, and let's continue. 3 months earlier, Marcus Blackwell stood at the windows of his penthouse office, watching the city sprawl beneath him like a conquered kingdom. At 42, he had built an empire worth $12 billion, but success had carved deep lines around his steel-gray eyes. His phone buzzed with another urgent message, but Marcus didn't move. He was thinking about his 8-year-old son Oliver, who lay in a hospital bed 20 floors below, fighting acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The doctors had delivered their verdict. With clinical precision, 30% survival rate, aggressive treatment required. Marcus had fired 3 nursing agencies in the past month. The caregivers either treated Oliver like he was already dead or showed up completely unprepared for the reality of caring for a seriously ill child. "Sir, the new candidate is here," his assistant announced through the intercom. "Send them in," Marcus replied, expecting another disappointment. The door opened and Isabella Santos walked into his office like she belonged there. 28, with rich auburn hair and intelligent brown eyes, she possessed a dignity that made Marcus suddenly aware of how many shallow people surrounded him daily. She was undeniably beautiful, but it was something deeper, a strength that commanded respect. "Mr. Blackwell," she said, extending her hand with a firm grip, "I understand you're looking for someone to care for your son?" Marcus studied her, faced for the usual tells, the calculating looks, the subtle greed. Instead, Isabella's expression remained steady, genuinely focused on the conversation. "What makes you qualified?" Marcus asked, settling into his interrogation mode. 7 years of pediatric oncology nursing, Isabella replied without hesitation. "I've worked with terminal diagnoses and their families. Oliver needs someone who sees him as a whole person, not just a sick child. He needs someone who will challenge him when he's strong, comfort him when he's scared, and never lie about what's happening to his body." The sincerity caught Marcus off guard. After years of people telling him what they thought he wanted to hear, genuine honesty felt almost foreign. The previous agencies lasted less than a week each, Marcus warned. "I don't tolerate incompetence or pity. My son deserves normalcy and structure." Isabella nodded thoughtfully. "Children facing serious illness often feel they've lost control. Maintaining normal expectations tells them you still see them as capable and valuable." Marcus found himself leaning forward. This woman understood something that had eluded expensive medical consultants. $90,000 annually, full benefits, housing included, he said, testing her reaction. "You'll work 6 days a week managing his medical needs, education, and daily activities." "That's fair," Isabella replied, showing no shock at the salary. "One more thing," Marcus's voice dropped. "Oliver's mother died when he was 5. Car accident. He doesn't remember her well, and he's not accustomed to women in his daily life. I won't have him getting attached to someone planning to leave." Isabella's expression softened with understanding, not pity. "Mr. Blackwell, I don't make promises lightly, especially to children who have experienced loss. If I take this position now, I'm committed for as long as Oliver needs care." Something in her voice made Marcus believe her. "When can you start?" "Whenever you need me." Isabella moved into the mansion that Monday. Oliver had been discharged from the hospital. But the boy who once raced up the grand staircase now gripped the banister with both hands, pausing to catch his breath. His appetite had vanished along with the color in his cheeks. Marcus watched from the doorway as Isabella knocked on Oliver's bedroom door, waiting for permission before entering, a small gesture the previous candidates had ignored. "Hi, Oliver. I'm Isabella. Your dad hired me to help take care of you while you're getting better." Oliver looked up from his dinosaur book, small and pale in oversized pajamas. "Are you a nurse?" "I used to be," Isabella said, settling beside his bed without invading his space. "But right now I'm just Isabella. What are you reading?" Oliver showed her the prehistoric field guide. "I like velociraptors best. Small but smart, and they hunted in packs." "Pack hunters are fascinating," Isabella agreed with genuine interest. "Did you know wolves use similar strategies? There's actually a wolf sanctuary about 2 hours from here." For the first time in weeks, Oliver's face showed curiosity. "Really? Could we visit sometime when I'm better?" "I think that sounds like an excellent goal to work toward," Isabella said carefully, giving him hope without false promises. Marcus felt something tight in his chest loosen. Isabella had given Oliver a future to anticipate. Over the following weeks, the oppressive silence in the mansion gave way to conversations, quiet laughter, and Oliver moving with purpose instead of reluctant shuffling. Isabella established natural routines, breakfast planning their day, educational work adapted to his energy levels, garden time when he felt strong. On difficult days when treatments left Oliver nauseous and weak, Isabella never resorted to false cheerfulness. She would read to him or simply sit quietly nearby, her presence steady and undemanding. Marcus found himself lingering in doorways, watching these interactions with relief and something else he couldn't name. Isabella had brought back something he'd feared was gone forever, not just comfort, but genuine engagement with life. It was during Oliver's 4th week that Marcus first noticed Isabella's exhaustion. She maintained her professional demeanor, but he caught glimpses of her in unguarded moments, rubbing her temples after difficult days, sitting in the garden at dawn with sagging shoulders. One Thursday evening, Marcus found Isabella in the kitchen, surrounded by papers and medical textbooks, copying charts by hand into notebooks. "Working late?" he asked, stepping into the kitchen. Isabella looked up, startled, quickly gathering papers. "I'm sorry, Mr. Blackwell. I can go back to my quarters." "That's not necessary," Marcus said, moving to the coffee maker. "Medical research?" Isabella hesitated, then nodded. "I'm working on my master's degree in pediatric oncology. Online program, part-time. I'm behind on my thesis because I've been focused on Oliver." Marcus felt surprised, then guilty. "You should have told me. I could have arranged additional help." "This job is my priority," Isabella said firmly. "Oliver needs consistency." "What's your thesis about?" Isabella's face brightened. "The psychological impact of caregiver consistency on treatment outcomes for pediatric cancer patients, how stability and support staff affects emotional resilience, and treatment compliance." Marcus stared at her. "You're studying whether having the same caregiver helps sick children get better." "Essentially, yes. I'm trying to identify which aspects of consistency have the most significant impact." "And you took this job as part of your research?" Marcus asked carefully. Isabella's eyes widened with shock. "No, Oliver isn't a research subject. I took this job because your son needs help and I'm qualified to provide it." Marcus studied her face, finding no deception. "How long have you been working on this degree?" 4 years. I started after my brother died." The words came out matter-of-factly, but Marcus caught the pain. "He was 12, brain tumor. I was his primary caregiver for the last 6 months, and I saw how much the quality of daily care affected everything. His mood, willingness to fight, ability to find happiness even during treatment. Marcus felt his understanding shift completely. "I'm sorry," Isabella nodded. "It's why I do this work. Children facing these diagnoses need advocates who see them as whole human beings capable of courage." "How can I help you finish your degree?" Isabella looked surprised. "Mr. Blackwell, that's not necessary." "It's an investment in something important. What do you need?" "Access to comprehensive data would help. Hospital statistics, treatment outcomes." "Consider it done," Marcus said. "I'll have my assistant contact children's hospitals where I serve on boards." December brought Oliver's strongest period since treatment began. His blood count stabilized, appetite returned, and most importantly, his personality resurged. He pestered Isabella with endless questions, regained strength to walk without assistance, and convinced her to help build an elaborate fort in the library. Marcus found them there one evening, Oliver asleep in their construction, Isabella working on thesis research nearby. "He wore himself out today," she whispered, "but good exhaustion, not sickness exhaustion." Marcus understood the distinction. "Should we move him to his room?" Isabella shook her head. "He asked to sleep in the fort. Sometimes the best medical care means breaking medical rules." "Isabella," Marcus said quietly, "I wanted to thank you for everything. This wasn't easy, especially during the worst days." "He's an amazing kid," Isabella replied. "It's been a privilege." "I've been thinking about Christmas. Oliver mentioned wanting to see snow, maybe Colorado or Vermont." Isabella's face lit up. "He would love that. Would you come with us? I know it's beyond your job requirements, but Oliver would feel more secure, and honestly, I'd feel more confident about his medical needs." Isabella hesitated, then smiled. "If you think it would be good for Oliver, I'd be happy to come." Christmas in Vermont exceeded Oliver's expectations. He built snowmen, tried skiing, and tackled every adventure with determination that reminded Marcus of who his son had been before illness changed everything. Isabella stayed close enough for safety, but gave Oliver space to struggle and succeed independently. On their last evening by the resort fireplace, Oliver announced, "This has been the best Christmas ever." "Better than when you got the dinosaur." "Encyclopedia?" Isabella asked. "Way better," Oliver said solemnly. "That was just getting something. This was doing something." Marcus felt his throat tighten. This was the first Christmas since his wife's death about experience, rather than expensive gifts. Later, Marcus found Isabella on the terrace, looking at snow-covered mountains. "Thanked you," he said, joining her, "for giving him back his childhood." Isabella was quiet, breath visible in cold air. "He's taught me things, too. About resilience, finding joy in small things." Marcus looked at her profile in moonlight. Hair escaped. From its arrangement, cold bringing color to her cheeks. She was beautiful, but more than that, extraordinary. "Isabella," he began, then stopped. She turned, and Marcus saw something deeper than professional warmth in her expression. "Marcus," she said, using his first name for the first time. The moment stretched between them, full of possibility and complication. Before Marcus could decide whether to close the distance, Isabella stepped back slightly. "We should go inside," she said, voice carefully neutral again. "Oliver might need something." Marcus nodded, understanding she was protecting them both, but as they walked back, he couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had shifted. The return to New York brought new routines that included Isabella joining dinner conversations when her schedule allowed. Marcus discovered she had intelligent opinions about everything and expressed them with humor that made their discussions the highlight of his day. During one dinner in mid-January, Oliver made an announcement that caught both adults off guard. "Isabella, are you going to marry my dad?" Marcus nearly choked while Isabella's fork paused midair. "He looks at you the same way he used to look at Mom," Oliver continued matter-of-factly. "And you look at him like you like him, but you're trying to hide it. Plus, you make him smile. More." "Your dad and I are friends, Oliver," Isabella said gently. "But you could get married if you wanted to, right? I wouldn't mind. I think Mom would like you." The innocent statement hit Marcus hard. Oliver had never before expressed acceptance of another woman in their family. That night, after Oliver slept, Marcus found himself unable to concentrate. He kept thinking about his son's question and Isabella's careful non-denial. February brought Oliver's most comprehensive medical evaluation since beginning treatment. The results exceeded everyone's hopes. Blood counts trending toward normal, scans showing significant improvement, overall physical condition dramatically better. "If these trends continue," Dr. Richardson told Marcus and Isabella, "we're looking at a very positive long-term prognosis." Marcus felt tears threatening with overwhelming relief, tempered by realizing Isabella's job was nearing its end. That evening, Marcus found Isabella in the kitchen, mechanically preparing medications. "Good news today," he said. "Wonderful news," Isabella agreed without looking up. "You don't seem as excited as expected." Isabella's hand stilled. "I am excited, but it means my work here is almost finished." "What if we don't want normal?" Marcus asked quietly. Isabella's eyes widened, waiting for clarification. "Isabella, these months have been the happiest our family has been since Oliver's mother died. You've become part of our lives in ways beyond your professional responsibilities." "Marcus," Isabella said softly, warning in her voice, "I know the situation is complicated, but what I feel for you isn't just gratitude." Isabella was quiet, searching his face. "What are you asking?" Marcus moved to sit beside her. "I'm asking if what's developed between us might be mutual, if you would consider staying as part of our family in a more personal capacity." Isabella's breath caught. "Marcus, I care about you and Oliver more than I should, but you're my employer. If something went wrong, it would affect him." Marcus reached out, covering her hands. She didn't retreat. "What if we changed the professional dynamic? You could finish your degree, we could figure out a different arrangement." "I can't be the woman who took advantage of a vulnerable family." "You didn't take advantage of anything," Marcus interrupted. "If you feel something beyond professional obligation, that's not shameful." Isabella finally looked up. "I do feel something for you. Somewhere along the way, caring for Oliver became caring for both of you. Then we figure it out together." Isabella smiled, completely open for the first time. "You make it sound simple." "Maybe it can be," Marcus said, kissing her knuckles gently. Isabella stood, creating distance. "There are things you don't know about me that might change how you feel." "Then, tell me." Isabella was quiet for so long, Marcus thought she might refuse. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. "When my brother was sick, I made promises I couldn't keep. I told him he would get better. I convinced him to keep fighting when maybe I should have helped him find peace. When he died believing he had failed." "Asnam!" Marcus understood now why Isabella never made false promises about Oliver's recovery. "You learned from that experience," Marcus said gently. "You've given Oliver hope without false certainties." "What if I'm wrong again? What if my feelings for you are clouding my judgment?" Marcus moved closer. "Oliver is healthier and happier than he's been in years. Whatever you're doing is working." "I need time," Isabella said finally. I need to finish my degree, establish professional credibility independent of this job. I need to know staying is a choice, not necessity. How much time? My thesis, defense is June. If I pass, I'll have options beyond private care. Marcus nodded, though 4 months felt like eternity. And in the meantime? Isabella smiled genuinely. We take care of Oliver, enjoy time together, and see what develops naturally. Marcus brushed hair from her face, marveling at how she leaned into his touch. What I'm feeling isn't going to change in 4 months or 4 years. I know, Isabella whispered. And what I'm feeling won't change either. When Marcus kissed her, Isabella didn't pull away. The kiss was gentle, tentative, full of promise, exactly what Marcus hoped for. March and April passed with carefully maintained normalcy, concealing growing intimacy. Isabella continued her duties with same competence, while Marcus found excuses to spend more time home. Their evening conversations became treasured routine. Oliver's health continued improving dramatically. Dr. Richardson discussed reducing treatment frequency, moving toward monitoring rather than active therapy. Isabella worked intensively on her thesis, staying up late analyzing data. Marcus had provided comprehensive hospital statistics, making her research significantly more impactful. Your data is incredible, Isabella told him in late April. The correlations are stronger than I hypothesized. This could influence how pediatric oncology care is structured. What career options are you considering? Marcus asked carefully. Isabella was quiet, tracing patterns on her notebook. I've been offered a research position at Children's Hospital, working with their oncology department to implement care consistency protocols. Marcus felt his stomach drop. That sounds amazing. It is exactly what I've hoped for since starting this program. When do you need to answer? End of May, after thesis defense, but before summer session. Isabella, Marcus said carefully, I don't want my feelings to complicate your professional choices. And if I took the position, what would happen with us? Marcus had been thinking about this obsessively. We would figure it out somehow. Isabella's expression suggested she had same doubts about long-distance relationships. Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves, she said. Let's focus on the present. Marcus nodded, but privately began considering options that might give Isabella reason to stay. Perhaps there was a way to create a position utilizing her expertise while allowing her to remain part of their lives. May arrived with unseasonable warmth. Oliver regained strength to spend hours outdoors while Isabella supervised from comfortable distance. Marcus worked on the terrace when possible, officially for spring air, but actually to watch them together. Their relationship had evolved into something remarkably like mother and child, though Isabella never overstepped boundaries. She guided Oliver with gentle consistency, celebrated achievements with genuine enthusiasm, comforted disappointments with wisdom. Isabella's thesis defense was scheduled for the 3rd week of May. Marcus could see her anxiety building as the date approached. What happens during thesis defense? Oliver asked when Isabella mentioned her presentation. I present my research to professors and answer their questions, Isabella explained. Like taking a very important test, but explaining everything out loud. Will they ask mean questions? Isabella smiled at his concern. They might ask challenging questions to make sure I understand my research, but they're not trying to be mean. You're already good at your job, Oliver said with absolute certainty. You made me better and made Dad happier. Isabella's eyes filled with tears, and Marcus felt his throat tighten. Oliver's assessment captured something no academic evaluation could measure. The night before Isabella's defense, Marcus found her practicing at midnight, surrounded by note cards. You're going to do brilliantly, he said. I keep thinking about questions I haven't considered, Isabella said nervously. Marcus gently took her cards away. Isabella, I've read your research. It's thorough, insightful, based on comprehensive data. You know your material better than anyone in that room. What if I'm not ready for what comes next? Marcus understood she was talking about more than career prospects. The transition from employee to independent professional, from caregiver to woman making her own choices. Then you figure it out one day at a time, Marcus said, moving around the table. The same way you helped Oliver recover. I'm scared, Isabella admitted. I know, but you're brave and brilliant and capable of handling whatever comes next. Isabella closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. Stay with me tonight? Just stay. I don't want to be alone with my nerves. Of course, Marcus said, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. Whatever you need. They moved to the living room, where Isabella curled up with her head on Marcus's shoulder. She fell asleep there while Marcus stayed awake, thinking about how much had changed since he first found her working late in the kitchen. Isabella's defense took place Tuesday afternoon. Marcus couldn't concentrate, checking his phone obsessively for updates that wouldn't come until the process was complete. Oliver surprised Marcus by asking if they could make Isabella a celebration dinner regardless of outcome. "She's been taking care of me for so long," Oliver said. "Now we should take care of her." Isabella returned at nearly 6 o'clock, walking into the kitchen where Marcus and Oliver were attempting a congratulatory meal that looked more like disaster. "Dr. Santos," Oliver announced solemnly, presenting a lopsided cake. "Congratulations on your degree." Isabella stopped in the doorway, staring at the cake and elaborate kitchen mess. Her eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling widely. "You passed?" Marcus asked. "I passed," Isabella confirmed, voice shaky with relief. "Not just passed. They said it was one of the strongest defenses they'd seen. 3 committee members asked for copies to share with colleagues." Oliver launched himself at Isabella with a hug that nearly knocked her over. "I knew you would do it." Isabella laughed through tears while meeting Marcus's eyes over Oliver's head. The look they shared was full of triumph and possibility. Later that evening, as they sat on the terrace sharing wine and talking about her future plans, Isabella mentioned something one committee member had said. "He told me research was only valuable if it was implemented, if it actually changed real-world settings." Marcus waited, sensing she was working towards something important. "My research shows caregiver consistency improves outcomes, but most families can't afford specialized care like Oliver received. The children who would benefit most are least likely to have access." Marcus began seeing where her thoughts led. What if there was a way to make this care more accessible? What if we could create a program training caregivers specifically for pediatric oncology families, providing them regardless of ability to pay? Marcus stared at her. "You're talking about starting a nonprofit." "I'm talking about turning my research into something that could help hundreds of families instead of just one. It would require funding, infrastructure, training programs, hospital partnerships. It would require someone to run it, someone with clinical expertise and research background." Isabella nodded. "It would be a huge risk. The hospital job is secure, established, guaranteed." Marcus engaged his business instincts with her vision. "What funding would you need to start?" Isabella looked surprised. "Marcus, I wasn't asking you to." "I know. But what you're describing could change pediatric cancer care fundamentally." "This couldn't be charity," Isabella said firmly. "If we do this, it has to be a legitimate partnership. I won't be the grateful employee you helped because you feel guilty." Marcus felt a surge of respect for her insistence on dignity. "Then, let's make it legitimate partnership. You bring expertise and vision. I bring funding and infrastructure. We build something neither could create alone. What about us? How do we separate business partnership from personal feelings?" Marcus reached for her hand. "Maybe we don't separate them. Maybe we acknowledge that what we're building professionally is connected to what we're building personally." Isabella's fingers tightened around his. "I want to do this. I want to create something that helps families like ours." "Then we do it," Marcus said simply. "We start planning tomorrow." Isabella leaned forward and kissed him, a kiss that felt like celebration and commitment and beginning of something extending far beyond their individual dreams. "This is going to change everything," she whispered. "Everything already changed," Marcus replied. "We're just finally admitting it." During dinner the following week, Oliver made another direct announcement. "So Isabella is going to help other kids like she helped me, and she's going to keep living here with us. And you're going to get married, so it's official, right?" Marcus and Isabella exchanged glances, both smiling at his matter-of-fact assessment. "How much thinking do you need to do?" Oliver asked impatiently. "You already know you want to stay, and Dad already looks at you like you're the best thing ever, and I already like having you here." That night, Marcus found himself back in their familiar kitchen spot. But the conversation felt different, charged with immediate decision-making rather than careful exploration. "He's not wrong," Isabella said without preamble. "About which part?" "About us loving each other, about wanting to make this official." Marcus felt something fundamental shift in his chest. "Isabella Santos, are you proposing to me?" Isabella started laughing. "Maybe I am, or maybe I'm saying if you were thinking about proposing, the answer would be yes." Marcus stood and moved around the table, pulling Isabella into his arms. "I've been thinking about it for months," he said seriously. "I just wasn't sure how to separate professional complications from personal feelings. Maybe they can't be separated. Maybe professional and personal are connected because we're building something bigger than either component alone." Marcus kissed her deeply, pouring months of careful restraint and growing love into the connection. Isabella responded with equal intensity. "Marry me, Isabella," Marcus said against her lips. "Not because Oliver wants you to, not because it makes business easier, but because I love you and want to spend my life building something beautiful with you." Yes, Isabella whispered, tears streaming. Yes, of course, yes. They were married 6 weeks later in the garden, with Oliver as ring-bearer announcing to guests that he was really excited to have a mom again, especially one who makes good pancakes and knows about dinosaurs. The Oliver Santos Foundation, named for both Isabella's brother and Marcus's son, received initial funding within 2 months. Isabella's research became the foundation for their caregiver training program, while Marcus used business connections to establish hospital partnerships. Oliver, now 9 and officially in remission, thrived in their blended family. His health continued improving, energy returned to normal levels, and most importantly, his capacity for joy had been fully restored. Isabella balanced foundation director duties with being Oliver's stepmother, giving both responsibilities deserved attention without sacrificing either. Marcus discovered that loving Isabella had made him a better father, more patient and present, because he was happier and fulfilled personally. A year later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Marcus found himself standing outside Oliver's door, listening to a conversation that reminded him of that first time he'd overheard Isabella praying. "Isabella," Oliver was saying seriously, "do you think my real mom would be happy about how everything turned out?" "I think," Isabella said carefully, "that your real mom, both your moms, because I'm your real mom too now, would be incredibly proud of how brave and strong you've become. I think she would be happy that your dad found love again." "Do you think she knows about you?" Isabella was quiet momentarily. "I don't know what happens after people die, but love doesn't disappear just because someone isn't physically with us anymore. Your first mom's love is still part of who you are. Now you have my love too, which means you have twice as much." "That's pretty good," Oliver said with satisfaction. "Twice as much love is definitely better than regular amounts." Marcus smiled, struck by his son's mathematical approach to emotional concepts. "I want you to know you can always talk to me about your first mom," Isabella continued. "I'm not trying to replace her or make you forget. I'm just adding to the love you already have." "I know," Oliver said. "That's why I like you so much. You don't act like loving you means I have to stop loving her." Marcus moved away from the door, carrying the warmth of what he'd heard. Later that morning, as they sat in the garden while Oliver played with his telescope, Isabella reached for Marcus's hand. "Penny for your thoughts," she said. Marcus looked at his wife, beautiful in morning sunlight, then at his son, healthy and happy. "I was thinking about the first night I overheard you praying in Oliver's room," Marcus said. "You were worried about me, not just Oliver." Isabella's cheeks flushed. "You were carrying so much guilt and fear. Oliver was picking up on your anxiety." "You saved us both," Marcus said, bringing her hand to his lips, "not just medically, but emotionally. You gave us back our family." "We saved each other," Isabella corrected. "You and Oliver gave me purpose beyond grief. You gave me a family and future I didn't know I wanted." Marcus wrapped his arm around his wife as Oliver called excitedly about spotting a hawk through his telescope. The Oliver Santos Foundation had served over 40 families in its first year, providing trained caregivers to children with cancer diagnoses whose families couldn't afford private care. Isabella's research had been published in major medical journals, and she was invited to speak at conferences about implementing consistency protocols. But more than professional success, they had found personal fulfillment in work that felt meaningful. Marcus discovered that using his wealth for something beyond profit felt more satisfying than any business acquisition he'd ever completed. That evening, after Oliver went to bed with his telescope beside him, Marcus and Isabella sat together, in their bedroom, sharing comfortable intimacy that comes from deep familiarity and continuing attraction. "Marcus," Isabella said suddenly, setting down her journal, "there's something I want to ask you." Marcus closed his laptop, noting something nervous and excited in her expression. "How would you feel about expanding our family?" she asked quietly. Marcus felt his heart skip as he processed the implications. I mean, I'd like to have a baby with you," Isabella said in a rush. "I know Oliver is doing well and we're busy with the foundation, but I keep thinking about how much love we have and how wonderful it would be to share that with another child." Marcus stared at his wife, feeling joy so intense it was almost overwhelming. The idea of having a child with Isabella, of giving Oliver a sibling, it was a dream he hadn't dared acknowledge. "Are you sure?" Isabella nodded, tears shining. "I love being Oliver's stepmother, but I'd also love to experience pregnancy and birth and raising a baby with you." Marcus reached for her, kissing her with all the love and excitement he felt. "Yes, absolutely yes. I want to have a baby with you, Isabella." 6 months later, Isabella was 3 months pregnant and glowing with radiant happiness. Oliver was beyond excited about becoming a big brother, constantly talking to the baby about dinosaurs and telescopes. Their new baby, due in spring, would be born into a family that had already weathered crisis and emerged stronger. a family that understood the value of professional caregivers and the importance of treating all challenges with dignity and hope. But more than that, their child would be born into a family that had learned to love generously, support each other through difficulties, and find joy in both ordinary moments and extraordinary achievements. As Marcus reflected on their journey from that desperate night when he'd overheard Isabella praying, he realized she had been right to pray for him. He had been carrying unbearable guilt and fear, convinced that Oliver's illness was somehow his fault for not being able to protect his son from everything. Isabella had saved them all, Oliver from despair, Marcus from self-blame, and herself from the guilt she carried about her brother's death. She had transformed their family from 3 separate people struggling with loss into a connected unit capable of facing anything together. Now, as they prepared to welcome a new baby into their family while continuing to expand the foundation that was changing pediatric cancer care across the country, Marcus understood that the greatest victories weren't financial or professional achievements. The greatest victory was learning to build something lasting from love, commitment, and the kind of deep connection that transforms everyone it touches. Outside their window, the estate was quiet and peaceful, home to a family that had learned to love without limits, hope without guarantees, and build something extraordinary from the foundation of care, courage, and the unexpected grace that comes when the right person arrives at exactly the right moment to change everything.